Ah!
Freddy's band? Are we just gonna spam Freddy's now?
Freddy, 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 Freddy. You're coming in at the tail end of a bit of silliness.
Yes, well, we always have a tail end of silliness, but you know.
More so than usual. Hi, this is Dee.
This is Ray.
And we are doing Herpetology of the Apocalypse, a Homestuck commentary today. Actually, on Homestuck, we are wrapping up the end of Act 2. If you remember last time, I cut off right before the end of the act, which was probably not appropriate, except that I really needed it.
Mm-hmm. Especially considering this next bit had a whole lot of notes.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of notes. So what comes next? We are starting on page 2656, which is a 2.5 long minute video packed with tons of stuff. Tons of it.
We are going to be not going past the end of Act 2 today. We're just going on Act 2 because we have shenanigans to say afterwards.
Yeah.
Or specifically Dee does.
Yeah, I was like, let's look back over Act 2. We encapsulated Act 1. We should do that again now and like just stop and check in with where we think we are. And I wrote a bit of an essay for notes, but we'll see if maybe we brainstorm some other cool stuff as we go.
Yeah.
All right.
You ready? Ready?
Yo.
Okay.
Joe.
I don't have anything on 2656. Do you have anything to say on 26? That's 2056 is the not the video. It's right.
Okay. So Wandering Vagabond climbs out of the bunker. Mm-hmm. There are several panels. The background is a ruined city, and the foreground is desert. There's a line of footprints. I spent way too fucking long trying to figure out where this actually was. And I think I figured out later, but at first I was like, I think it's Dallas.
Oh.
And as I tracked down more pieces of information, which we will discuss later, I was like, well, it turns out Dave is in Dallas. And there is a bit of the skyline. I'll show you in the ruined bit. No.
Good luck seeing it.
There we go.
Hey! I thought there was like a crane or something on the side, by the way.
And then there's this, which has that same stepped building like this in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. But I don't think it actually is Dallas because later we see a map and it doesn't look like they are coming from Dallas. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I'm not sure where that is. It might be Quebec.
I have a general idea of
Montreal. Sorry, not Montreal, not Quebec.
General idea of where we are, not like location wise, but as in the importance of the location. But I will mention that later.
Okay, because I think I think it's Montreal for a reason, but it looks like Dallas.
He literally could have just been like, "Well, I'm just going to draw a city here."
Okay,
but I have no idea.
It's Andrew Hussey. There's probably a reason why it looks exactly the way it does. It's either screw it, I found a cool skyline and drew over it. I don't know, something, or I found the exact right photo and then was like, he, and turned it into Apocalypse. It's either completely disregarding meaning or so in depth with meaning that you can't escape. Mm-hmm. But we don't know which.
That is the way of Hussey.
Then next we see Wandering Vagabond climbing out of the bunker. He has the firefly and the pumpkin full of cans with him and the spear/knife tied onto his back. The top of the bunker has the either Skynet symbol or spirograph, whatever you want to call it, in green on it. Mm-hmm. And there's a shattered piece of statue lying in the sand. It's the arm from the wizard at Rose's house, apparently.
Yes.
Okay, I got confused on that, but go ahead and go.
Okay.
I have stuff to say before we move past the wizard.
Mm-hmm. So usually when I see ruined cities in post-apocalypses, they're usually covered hell to the back to like plans or just generally ruined and not we're just going to cover everything in sand, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I have, of course, seen that happen. Be like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cover everything in sand, but it's not very often. So I was trying to figure out when generally those kind of movies specifically were popping up. Because I was thinking specifically of Tank Girl. And amusingly enough,
Which is fair.
yeah, the list that I was looking up to see just a general overview for, hey, here's the list of desert apocalypses did not have Tank Girl on it. And I was like, this is bullshit. I refuse to believe that is not a desert. I'm sorry. Is the whole plot of the movie not, oh God, there's no water? Huh? Liars.
Okay, I think this is a Gen X shortcoming where we see Tank Girl and we don't go, that's set in a desert. We see Tank Girl and we go, that is set in Britain. And the reason we say it's set in Britain is because we see the guy, Malcolm, who's his name, from A Clockwork Orange, which is a very British dystopia. And we go, it's the same place. So we don't see desert. We just hear whatever the Clockwork Orange's guy, his voice, and we go, all right, so that's that we're gonna go to the milk bar and drink some loco. That's all we hear. That's as far as we get. We just don't even know it's a desert. We just like, yep. Yeah, there was that one scene where they're like bathing in sand, but really it's Britain. Just so you know.
Okay. Well, that explains some things, but that doesn't like the answer to that.
It's irrational. I'm not saying it's rational. I'm just saying we're wrong.
So, ignoring that, first,
keep going. I'll have to look up that guy's name.
Okay. Manson, maybe?
No.
Anyway,
just let me look it up.
First, I would like to say you should watch Tank Girl if you have not yet. It is delightful. Secondly, I went off to do my own little search to see if there was a large swath of the apocalypse movie or desert apocalypses. So I went off to find the first off in the Wikipedia stuff what the actual first apocalypse movie was. That was April 1st, 1916, a silent Danish film where a comet passes over and causes natural disasters. The movie's name is The End of the World, except said in Danish and stuff. Look, I forgot to look up the Danish name.
No, just my brain goes, The End of the World. And it starts playing, It's the End of the World as we know it. And I feel fine. And then you said it's Danish. And I'm like, Danish. I don't know what the Danish accent. I wonder if the Danish accent sounds kind of like the Swedish from the Herbly herb. Mercy giver never. Hit me her. Hit me ha. Mercy her. And Peter.
Stop. I love you, but you have to stop for your own sake.
Thank you. I needed that. It's a good thing I don't have any eye makeup on. Holy cow. I'd be dripping.
So, the movie Comet, 6 years. Sorry, it was made 6 years after Halley's Comet, and it was being released during World War I, still going on. So, drumming up a lot of interest that way and stuff. Thought that was pretty neat. 1931, there was a remake. This time it's in French and has sound. 1933, there was a movie called Deluge, where New York is swallowed up by a tsunami, as well as there being like a solar eclipse, earthquakes all around the world, general flooding, blah, blah, blah. 1936, British film based off of the book The Shape of Things to Come by H.G. Wells, just called Things to Come. Everything's been bombed. and they're like, oh god, this bombing has been going on for so long that we've forgotten why we're fighting. Everything's pretty much like there's some kind of disease going on that makes everything into like pretty much zombies that need to be rounded up and kept away from the other people, which was set like pre pre World War II, but you know, it's really close that probably mindset things were going on there as well.
Can I give you a short
Yeah, have at it.
H.G. Wells horrific note? He was actually a eugenicist, and he was a lefty, but it turns out like between World War One and World War II, well, like 1908 to World War II, most of the eugenicists were lefties, and they were like, like the anti-vaxxers now were like, but our children need to be perfect. They need to be Supermen. And so a lot of the stuff that H.G. Wells writes is about um, basically, if you are too conservative, you will mutate and become horrific and cannibalistic.
Okay, so I was right on like getting the vibes that something fucked up was going on here. Real, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was an odd time.
Odd time, you say? Yeah. Um. Then, 1975. This was the earliest one that I could see that was actually a desert apocalypse. This was the movie called Death Race 2000, whose plot
Neat.
Yeah. Whose plot is in a dystopian future, a cross country automobile race requires contestants to run down innocent pedestrians to gain points that are tallied based on each kill's brutality. There's an arcade game based on this. Like,
I'm trying to remember who wrote that. Oh, yep.
Here's an image of the arcade.
Oh, before I go look it up, because I want to look it up too. The Malcolm of Clockwork Orange is Malcolm McDonald, and he is the same actor as the guy who gets his head.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, shenanigans that way. Um, oh, the arcade game was released in 1976, by the way. I went
after the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
Went further looking into just generally apocalypse movies because I was like, do at that time. Found a 2003 French movie called Time of the Wolf slash Le Temps de Loup, based off of like pre Ragnarok kind of stuff happening, supposedly. But really, it's just all the buildings there are like abandoned and ruined and stuff. But it's also, you're like, yeah, this is the fucked up side of the apocalypse. There's rape going on, there's blah, blah, blah. There's all kinds of shenanigans. And I was like, weird. But the interesting about that one is they still have running trains, like full on just transportation trains going on, that are viewed semi mythologically. Like one guy tries to sacrifice himself in front of a train to stop it, kind of thing, by jumping into a fire pit.
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, but anyways, the latest one on that I had seen on the list that I had previously mentioned for the whole desert apocalypse things that I was like, why is there no tank girl on this thing? Was a Mad Max movie called Mad Max Fury Road. And I was like, well, obviously these movies haven't disappeared and stuff. We have the Dune movies, which I don't think I can really call that post-apocalypse in the same way. Like it's it's a planet already that's like that, or at least semi like that.
Okay, so post-apocalypse focuses on right after the thing we know, and Dune is after an apocalypse. It used to be a green planet.
Oh, okay.
But Dune is after an apocalypse. It's just not right after that apocalypse, and it's not the apocalypse we know. It is a millions and millions of years in the future type thing. More like Last and First Men by Stapleton or something like that.
Oh,
so it's a different. You're right. It's a different genre.
Give me a sec. I will ask what the name of that was. And
okay. Let me double check that I got the author right. There's a specific name for it. Far future stuff. Last, yeah. First men. Yeah, there was a Olaf Stapleton. Yeah, I was thinking of his wrong first name, but that's the right name. Um, Future history. There we go. It's a future history. Our future history. Um, it's also a post-human narrative. Uh, Humans have evolved so much that they're no longer recognizable, and I think in this one it's like the robots are like we are now the new men.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've seen one version of that and stuff. After Humans or something like that. This one was, yeah, some aliens saw humanity and decided to like mess with their biology and make them into like literal balloons farting across the sky and bricks and all that kind of thing. I think I showed you that before.
I think so. There okay, so the same H.G. Wells period. He was a little bit before this, but the same kind of mental trend that H.G. Wells was doing with all of his like the Morlocks and the weird zombie dudes you're talking about, and a bunch of other stories where he's like really getting into the whole eugenics thing. People were very interested in between um, World War One and World War Two, particularly with the idea of being humans being mutated and cut away from their origins, and how like it wasn't like a question of race. It was a question of genetic engineering is going to make us not be human, and therefore we're going to look like people with disabilities, because they were just absolutely
Terrified of that, yeah.
Right. Like, what the hell?
Meanwhile, most of today I've seen stuff with like fiction involving that kind of stuff is like, yeah, we just turn people into furries.
It was different fears, I think,
Mm-hmm.
or the same fears but externalized in a different way. And so there was a lot of racism, but there was a lot, like even more than now, there was a lot of prejudice against people with any kind of physical deformity or disability, or like glasses and being left-handed and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think we have gone way off the rails on this. Anyway, I will shut up.
uh, that is what I'm going to leave the. Oh wait, um, Dee had mentioned that there was a movie called Lawrence of Arabia,
Mm-hmm.
which was a 1962 film that kickstarted this whole desert apocalypse stuff because it was pre the 2000 Road 2000 Death Road.
Yeah,
that thing, that movie.
It's not an apocalyptic movie. It's a war movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it lit up the screen. It was one of the most spectacular movies of its time, and in fact is still considered one of the most beautiful movies to ever have existed. And people just got obsessed with it. And so when you get into stuff like George Lucas and Star Wars, he's like, dude, we could make this look just like one of my favorite movies,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was one of everybody's favorite movies. So if you needed a cheap set where you didn't have to build a whole heck of a lot, you didn't have to build Victorian England. Yeah. All you had to do was build some ruins out in the desert, and nobody would care if you left it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was practical for the time, even though it was awful to film in, apparently. Anyway, yes, Martha Reed.
That's what I have for the movie side. For the hand orb, you already mentioned that, yes, this is the wizard hand that we saw from Rose's side. And I was like trying to wonder if, oh yeah, I wonder if this like hand blew here or if it's just been staying here this whole time and then it later got answered. So leaving it at that for now.
Okay. I don't have the right thing pulled up. Okay, I'm gonna say before I figured out what the hand was. Oh my gosh, everything just rebooted. Anyway, before I figured out what the hand was, I went and looked up. Shoot, why is that not working? I have to scroll all the way to the end of 300 pages. We're going to start a new file for this.
Yes, yes, we are.
This is how dedicated we are.
Mm-hmm.
Very dedicated. Holy cow, why is this not? Wow, nope. Hey, would you talk for a minute?
Oh, sure, yeah, okay. Um, so Wizarding Hand, oh god, I have nothing to say on that. Actually, back when I was a kid, I used to love these tiny little wizard statues that we would see inside of antique stores and stuff. Um, Usually, you'd also see them like next to little dragons and stuff, or these like little fountains that also had little orbs on top of them that would turn around over and over and over because like they had dry
Oh, yeah.
ice and were just spilling that all over the place. And I was like, this is fabulous. We never got one. However, we do have a cat fairy, of which I still have, except the wings broke off of the poor thing because
Plastic.
yeah, it's been loved for very many years and stuff. But point being, yeah, those things just kind of break. I'm sure that if we had that wizard statue, it also would have ended up in ruin.
Okay. So the thing I wanted to say about the piece of statue lying in the sand, it's not the right piece of statue, but there's a poem called Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley, the husband, now more famous as the husband of Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein, than as a poet, but he was a poet and also a friend of George Gordon, Lord Byron. If you have a Byron hate on, you will know that name. Man, he was the worst kind of slut. Ozymandias. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Wah. So I just was like, yes, that's a very Ozymandias moment. The name is also a character in Alan Moore's Watchmen. Ozymandias is another name for the biblical Ramses II, who was the pharaoh played by Yul Brynner in the Ten Commandments. It was like, so let it be written, so let it be done. The point of the poem is that nobody remembers him. Ironically, people remember him. But mostly after Shelley was like I think he died in like 1823 or something like that. And so the whole bringing up Moses and stuff came much later, weirdly enough. Historically, the pharaoh who actually ruled Egypt at the time of the Jewish Exodus would not have been of even the same dynasty of Ramses, but may have been one of the Hyksos, a foreign dynasty that ruled over Egypt for a while and which may have been based out of the Levant area, which includes Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, Israel, and South Sicilia or Turkey. This is mostly relevant because of Moses' origin story as the pharaoh's adopted brother. So it may have been that the first foreign dynasty that of the Egypt was before the Greeks took over. There were these people out of the Levant, and they not only ruled the area, but they enslaved other people from the area too. So in the picture, we pull back to see footprints leading to the bunker. Wayward vagabonds from earlier, and we see that the lid of the bunker isn't a lid, but a rocket ship, which rises upward.
Which is also in the shape of a cylinder/can.
Yes. The mayor of Candown. I missed that. The rocket is attached to a tunnel leading downward, and it blew a crater in the sand beneath it, but didn't destroy the tunnel or the bunker beneath it. So the 3 big rooms under the sand are still there and now unsealed to the desert because there's no lid. The rocket has the Homestuck logo on the side, and the location, which Wayward Vagabond had reset to its default earlier, shows in the lower right corner of the screen, implying that we are looking at a monitor of some sort. I never did figure out what was going on with that. The rocket has a flat top with Wayward Vagabond on top. It levels out, sort of, and flies sideways somehow without dumping him off. And I think I have slipped into the video now. I'm like, I think I'm in the video now. So
yes, we're still on that. Like, I was talking about how you said we're starting on 2656. 2656 is the whoops, just kidding on the just kidding thing. 2657, which is what we've been talking about, is the video. We're still on that.
There was the first panel has 3 panels on it showing 3 different things, and now we're on the video.
Yes, we're on the video.
Okay. I forgot to note where it was that it changed over, but I was like, yeah, we're flying. That's motion.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to talk about some location stuff. Am I okay to start doing that, or should I wait for you to say some things first? Because I didn't mean to switch into the video
yeah, we're
without
still
checking
just keep going.
Okay.
No worries. So I would like to say first that the place that Wayward Vagabond leaves is conspicuously meteor shaped and stuff, because I'm pretty sure that's where Lalonde's house used to be. Yeah. Or is that part of the thing you're going to talk about? Yeah. Okay. All right, then have at it.
All right. We see the canister is traveling to the west. We see a red arrow pointing left, which is backwards in Western imagery, and see a map over what looks like the Great Lakes in the northern U.S. The image says a continent westward. On the rocket trails a black and white line. The coordinates are for 42.2 and -90. Those, as it's passing over, those are in Illinois near Iowa. So like southern Illinois, not Chicago. The camera zooms out and we end up along a western coastal area, which sort of looks like it's near Seattle, which the text says, and years in the past. And then there are some GPS coordinates. And make sure there is, you can't see the coordinates, but that's the big shape of what it looks like. And here is Google Maps of Seattle. I was very proud of tracking that down. The text changes to but not many and zooms in on a suburban neighborhood as a meteor.
Okay. Before you continue on with that, so I noticed that there were like dead trees surrounding the meteor hole that Wayward Vagabond leaves and stuff. So it's just like that specific area where the meteor crashed, everything died, but everything around it kind of is dead, but not necessarily fully dead. I think it's in the same way that like how trees will just kind of die but be left there to be eventually reclaimed by nature and stuff. You see like in forest fires, that kind of thing. So I just was like, oh, hey, this is neat for future tree shenanigans, I think.
Okay, so I don't think that's Wayward Vagabond crashing. I think that is a different rocket.
Yeah. No, he's leaving the area, specifically the going off into the sky. We get a zoom out and we see like, there's a giant desert sandy area. That's where he was. But surrounding that desert area is like a lip, and on that lip is dead trees.
Oh, where he left.
Okay. Yes. Not where he's arriving to, just where he left.
You said that.
Yes.
It was where he crashed. So I was like, me.
Anyways, shenanigans. I think that eventually that'll be a good way of like, here's the old dead, but it can be coming back to life at some point.
I think we kind of get that in where Wayward Vagabond actually does crash.
Yes, but like he's leaving the old to go to the new, and that'll go further from there.
Okay. Anyway, there's a meteor rocket. It crashes and destroys the neighborhood. Like I said, I don't think it's the same one. I think this is a different, like, years in the past, but not many. I think this is the dad / Rose's mom generation of people. It zooms in on a suburban neighborhood. The rocket crashes and destroys the neighborhood. A white tree with green leaves grows from the enormous crater. Something fruits out of the tree. The leaves turn orange and the fruit falls off. The other desert character, the one with a cart full of mailboxes, at first does not realize that the rocket ship is flying overhead with Wayward Vagabond on it, and then looks up later. The other character is standing next to the fruit, which is a sphere with the Homestuck logo on the side, like a giant Christmas ornament. Then Wayward Vagabond flies overhead, showing us that it is not the same place that got wrecked. Okay.
I think that neighborhood is like, I know you were saying it was the parents' generation, but I think that's the place where John's house used to be, and that's why the tree is specifically growing there because he had the apple for him biting into it and stuff, and now the seeds are left behind to grow a new tree.
It says it's in the past.
Yes. Wayward Vagabond's area is in the future, and we already know that his monitors deal with time shenanigans. I think
Okay.
he's in the future, and so it's like going back into the past that is John's time before it explodes and stuff.
Okay. I'm confused.
Okay.
I think everybody was confused when they first watched this.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of context when
Yes.
we're first watching this. So in the place where Wayward Vagabond takes off,
Mhm.
he takes off at the same time, like right after seeing John do shenanigans
On his monitors.
on his monitors before the biting of the apple.
Mhm.
He checks out after that. He is no longer comunicado.
Yes.
So once the actual meteor hits, he's not aware of what's going on there.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
I think, though, that is a view into the past. He is able to interact with the past, even though he is not in actually the past time.
Okay. That's not relevant for what I'm saying now. I'm just trying to anchor, like, here are the sequence of events as readers may know them.
Okay.
He has shenanigans in the bunker. The bunker is already in a location that has been destroyed by a meteor. So it's obviously after Rose's place has been destroyed because we figured out it's Rose's place. So he takes off. He's in the future after the destruction. He takes off, goes back, and he is flying in the future. He does not land in the past until later after the spirograph thing. So the first time jump, I think, is now that I say it, it must be after John's reality splits off, or John and them split up. So he flies over Seattle, which is where
John.
Yeah. Okay. So Wayward Vagabond flies over Seattle, where John was, sees the other tree at where John was, and keeps going. So somebody else landed there. Something else landed there. Something else grew. Got it. Okay. All right. That helps. Thank you. Sorry for being confusing.
Here's my thought on that.
I'm not going to try and read that because that will take more explanation than I almost have it set in my head to where it makes sense.
I will just shut up. Thank you.
Okay.
Or no, I think this actually might be.
Okay, so years in the past, but not many. We are now in the suburban neighborhood. Okay, so yeah, there is a time jump there. Because Wayward Vagabond flies over. So he leaves from the future. He arrives in the past as he flies. Apparently, it's like a Superman thing where you rewind the globe as you travel westward. Okay, got it.
We'll say good enough.
Good enough. All right, and then he goes even further, an ocean westward. We zoom out from Seattle and we follow the globe, which turns, and it says in years in the past, and then it says but not many, and then it crosses out not many to show that it has been a many in the past. We zoom out from the scene to the globe, then out to the stars. The logo / spirograph appears in deep space, and then the screen goes white. Asteroid appears and is moving away from the logo. red streaks crash into the volcano from space, and it looks like the first. It looks like the first asteroid happened billions of years in the past.
Yes.
Okay, so kind of like Halley's Comet, whatever this is, it happens regularly, perhaps every 13 years, who knows?
I cannot say anything because spoilers, but I will say good enough.
Okay. There's a volcano, there's some red streaks crashing into it. It looks like the same stuff that's happening to the kids now. The screen turns white, there's an explosion, the crater appears next to the volcano, lava runs down at the crater. Something gets built in the center of the crater, a green temple with a frog on top.
Yes, I have things to say on that.
Okay. And 4 towers surrounding it. Crater fill. I'm going to break in a second. The crater fills up with green, then blue water, then the seas rise until the volcano is now an isolated island with a green temple next to it. A white flash, then clouds and pterodactyls. The temple has aged to gray and the 4 towers are gone. So this is, whatever it is a time happened originally in a time before pterodactyls.
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, wow, pterodactyls, nice. So, something to note about the actual temple stuff, not just that the temple has a sighting of Skynet symbols, or not Skynet, the Skya symbols on the side of it building up, but it also has the 4 towers, as mentioned, in the same pattern as this.
Okay, show it to the screen because I can't see it.
Yes. And then here is the temple.
Okay.
Yeah, like there's that on the other frame. There's that on the other frame. Tiny one there.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep. That makes it looks like an orrery.
What's an orrery?
A mechanical model of the solar system.
Oh, okay.
Like it's in not Labyrinth. Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing that Ahira, I can't remember her name, but the witch lady that she has this giant bronze sun with planets circling around it.
Yep.
Okay.
But yes, it looks a lot like that. But I just was like, aha, I have future knowledge that I'm allowed to talk about vaguely there, just to mention what that is.
Okay, yeah. Good.
We also get to see some giant ass lily pads in the pterodactyl section. Oh, and here's an image of the pterodactyls and such, by the way.
Whee.
Yes. And I would like to note for actual pterodactyls, they were found in like Germany, and they were like for the actual fossils of them, but they were like dates that they were living was like late Jurassic period, 150.8 to 148.5 million years ago and stuff. So that's how old the temple is, like way back beyond that.
Yeah, but not like birth of the universe old, but okay.
Yeah, but definitely pre any humans that would technically, you would assume, would make the temple.
Well, it was pre plant life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty early. Yeah. All right. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. So that's the first minute and a half of the video. At 1:37, we switch to the current characters. Rose is watching the meteors come down. She's outside of her house and outside of the
shed
thing. Mausoleum.
Yes.
She's beating on the generator. Trees fall, burning, and she is forced to flee as one smashes the generator. Rose's mom stands next to the window, holding her martini and watching the world burn. She happens to have black sleeves underneath her white dress. We see her faceless face.
Which is just the thing that the adults usually have in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
See Alba 2000s cartoons and stuff, hiding all the faces and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
The whole house is surrounded by flames. There's a Skynet or Skya logo on the side of the house, and we see it in a flash of lightning. We zoom in. And a finger points at a keypad with a cat on top of it. I watched the keypad code being entered multiple times and was like, oh, God damn it, it's 413. The hand has a black sleeve. That's the mom doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Inside the mausoleum, the top of the sarcophagus drops away, revealing a ladder downward. The ladder downward looks suspiciously like the one in the tunnel to the bunker for Wayward Vagabond. Wow. We get a shot of 4 purple towers then next with spears on top. One is lit up with the jester sprite as before. We zoom downward along the towers. John's dad is walking along with 2 shale imps behind him. He is handcuffed and has his pipe and hat. One of the imps has a sword. We zoom in on the handcuff, which John's dad pops open. He raises a cake, which, where did he hide that? Overhead, and is holding a can of shaving cream. The 2 shale imps quiver in fear. A flash of light, and then we are seeing Dave on top of his apartment building. More meteors raining down in the background. When we pull back to see Dave's bro and Lil Cal, and Lil Cal is whole when we've seen him chopped in half previously, which means we're back in time just a scooch.
Yep.
Bro's silhouette looks like an orc from Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Just his fucking ears stick out weird. And the sides of his glasses are pointy. We see Bro's face lit up. He's wearing mirror shades, and we see the meteors reflected in them.
Yes. There's a specialty cosplayer who does specifically anime or cosplaying glasses and stuff. He was pretty much the sole person to do all of the specialty glasses for a while, or the ones that are not cheap and stuff. He's still going, from what I understand. I think it's anime eyewear or something like that for what he's underneath. But yeah, he's just one dude puttering around, and everyone's like, "Yes, this is the guy. Go to this guy." Kind of thing.
4 billion people on the planet, and this is the only one who matters.
Indeed, he's the only one you get the good shit from. Everyone else is like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna draw on these cheap shades that I bought for Also, Dave's bro is holding a katana as well. I think we forgot to mention that. Yes.
Yep. Sorry.
And the handcuffs that were handcuffing John's dad are John's trick handcuffs. And we know this because the imp is having the magic hat that John also, like, he stole that from John.
Oh. Yes. Okay, got it. I was like, why are we... I noticed that they were an image that had been inserted into the picture and not actually drawn. Why was that? I got fixated on that. It's just the same damn ones.
Something else of note for the hallway that John's dad is walking down. The hallway is purple, but also checker patterned.
Chess pattern, one might say.
You sure could.
Okay.
Yeah, we're after that's the Wayward Vagabonds landing in front of the frog statue.
We go back to the rocket, lowering it up from the sky. We see the readouts on the lower right, then a spirograph with the atom symbol in the middle, with the word empty at the bottom. This is the battery thing from earlier, I think. That there's a battery in one of the bunker areas saying that there was out of fuel. So this is as much fuel as it has. We're done. It lands near the ancient frog temple, but now there's only desert and no ocean.
It's so coincidental that it had enough energy to be able to go here, isn't it?
Yes. We see Wayward Vagabond looking at the frog temple, and there's sort of a crashing noise, and it's the end. A gray spirograph spins on a white background.
Yes. The song for this whole thing, by the way, is Explore, written by George Bozanki and arranged by Michael Guy Bowman. I didn't find much in the way of George Bozanki's music stuff. I forgot to look up her new name. She's trans, from what I understand, but has also died in 2018.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Right. I think after that is curtains close, and then we talk about your shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then let's have at it.
Okay. This the beginning of this, I'm like sorting out where everybody is. Wayward Vagabond is generally in the future, but not far. John's house is in Maple Valley, Washington, is the actual town, but it is near Seattle because I looked up the longitude and latitude, which is where the white desert character ends up. Rose's house in upstate New York, south of Montreal. So Montreal might be... I was like, would they be able to see the New York City skyline? And I looked up where the coordinates were. I'm like, no, they are not. Okay. But what's the nearest? There's no city near there. Yes, there's Montreal. It's too far, but let's stretch it through. It's like more than 14 miles.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to see it from the because of the curve of the earth.
We're saying good enough.
Good enough. Jade's home. I'm pretty sure this is Jade's home. It's in an island in the Pacific that I dug into last time. And Dave's home is apparently in Texas, Dallas. And it doesn't say Dallas, but I'm assuming because of the skyline, I'm like, yeah, that's a Dallas skyline.
If not, then everyone had canyons it to be that. Yeah.
Okay. And like Austin just isn't big enough for that shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. No worries. The thing that I noticed about the video, just about the video 1st, I looked it up on YouTube because I needed to stop and scroll through with the little comma period, comma period, comma period, and boom, flashing back and forth because I was so confused the first time I saw it.
Go frame by frame, yeah.
In the comments, I was not looking for spoilers, but there were a ton of people saying this is the point where they actually got interested.
Oh.
Like they were casually watching, you know, like, ha ha ha, this is silly. And all of the stuff that we've been reading, they didn't catch up, or they didn't pick up on much of it until they got to this. And then they went back and they started digging to go like, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. Oh my gosh, these things connect together. But it wasn't until this video that like a bunch of people were just like, I didn't realize how deep this was going to go until I saw this video. And I went, that's silly. And then I went, the first time I read this, I drifted out towards the end, like the end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2, because I was like, whatever. And it wasn't until we actually slowed down and went through things and looked it up and took our time that I had, that I realized just how layered it was. Something that I've noticed, I didn't write this down, but something I've noticed through Act 1 and Act 2 was every time I went off on this wild-haired tangent that went, I thought, just fucking nowhere. I was just like, here's the Gen X reference. I'm one of the olds now.
Or like those misquoted quotes and stuff.
Yeah, not even that. Just like, the misquoted quotes, and he's got the wrong quotes, and end up looking up, semiotics. It turns out that was probably intended. Like my random ass, ha ha ha, you know what this reminds me of? That's probably in there. So and it's a lot of Gen X stuff in there. And one of the things that I ended up thinking a lot about, and I wrote this down, was that how Gen X processed the world is vastly different than how Gen Z is processing Gen X processing the world. Like when you look at what Hussey refers to in the opening on a surface level, it's contact, it's Little Monsters, it's Armageddon, it's Con Air, stuff like that. Movies that are like cool, but they're not deep. They're really simple. The basic premise is you have two ideas that do not get along and you smush them together, hijinks ensue. So like Con Air, I was like, well, ha ha ha, what's Con Air? Con Air is crime is bad, crime is cool. Little Monsters is little kids need to be free. Little kids are fucking mean. And that's just like the Gen X. That's it. That's our plot. Once upon a time, there was a guy who was just kind of a loser, and he was the coolest guy I knew. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's not complicated. It's fun to watch because you zoom in very closely and you come up with really concrete details. But like all of the plots are peanut butter and chocolate. You've got my peanut butter and my chocolate. You've got your chocolate and my peanut butter. And then you have to find some kind of like loophole where suddenly it's a Reese's peanut butter cup. Somehow this actually works because there's an obscure little loophole, and we'll travel westward along the globe underneath the surface of the earth and come out in Los Angeles at right before sunset or whatever, right before sunrise or whatever it is in Little Monsters.
Yeah.
But it's looking for that one little loophole. And and I think about like the stuff that you were raised on, like even stuff like Don Bluth, who was the American Tale.
Oh yeah.
And Land Before Time. That guy. His storytelling is way more complex than that. Like it is like you can't just take it's a mouse who comes to America as an immigrant. No, it's the story about how the immigrants arrived in America thinking they were coming to a great place, and it wasn't, but really it was. Like the conflicting ideas are a lot more nuanced. And you get stuff like the Powerpuff Girls, and that is a show that makes fun of so many other shows that it's genuine. Like anything that Kraken ever does, Samurai Jack. So Gen X is like, oh, just take two ideas and smush them together. Chocolate, peanut butter, chocolate. How hard can it be? It's a hit movie. Great. Wow. And what we made wasn't that. What we made was other stuff. And Gen Zers are coming along, picking up our detritus and going, this is subtle and nuanced. And we're like, sure it is. We're too broken to be simple. That's all it is we're too broken to be straightforward. That's all. We have been buffeted with so much irony that we can't, like Dave's bro, we can't tell our way out from what's genuine and what's serious. And you're just reading so much into this shit that making it elegant and cool. Like we talked about I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, right? And that's kind of, and Harlan Ellison was a boomer. He was, well, an older Gen X or younger. I think he was 63 he was born in, but I don't remember for sure. No, he had been born before that. I think he was a boomer. Anyway, my generation, we thought he was all like deep and philosophical and shit. And it turns out he was just like pulling shit out of his butt at the time. He was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna lie to people. I feel like ranting about this today, and I'm gonna put people clothes on my rant. And setting clothes on my rant, and that's about it. He didn't make sense. He didn't plan things out. So I think the intents here are often, you guys are reading more into it than maybe there is, but that is perfectly acceptable and in fact desirable.
I think you've talked about some of the Gen Z stuff in a way that reminds me a lot of this, because we're like, yes, we're being so nuanced on this on purpose. And you're meanwhile like, yes, let me go into the details on this. And I'm like, oh God, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. For like Iron Lung and stuff.
Oh, we finished Iron Lung.
Oh, yes.
I really liked it.
The movie, not the game.
I saw the game, but I did not play it.
Yes. Specifically, you're going off into like details of what the universe means and how like the gods are looking in and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, we will go with that answer and not just Markiplier pulling shit out of his ass here. Yes. Okay. I mean, like he obviously has his stuff in there to be able to do that correctly, but I do think at least a little bit of it was just him being like, I'm gonna pull shit out of my ass, and it turned out great.
Yeah. I think he's a millennial. Forgive me, I don't know. But he seems to be really well versed in sci-fi. I was like, oh, that's like Solaris. Oh, that's like Cthulhu. Oh, this, that, the other thing. I could go down a bunch of weird horror, weird shit. So I think he's got his chops in the genre.
I'm not saying he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's just also pulling shit out of his ass at the same time.
Yes, yeah. And I just assume that. Okay. The reason I've been talking about how intention and what the authors mean is that it seems like a lot of people your age are like, oh, we're going to analyze this. And maybe it's just me making that assumption. We're going to analyze this and go, there was always a master plan. Like when you talk about Toby Fox's stuff, you're like, and here's the lore, and here's where this connects to that, and the other thing, and it's all like this, it's all tied together. And I'm like, speaking as a writer, which also you are becoming, but speaking as a writer, sometimes you fix it in post.
uh, Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my god, he used the same music for this one thing that he put fucking everywhere. He's just like, yeah, I just really like this music.
Yeah, no, and when you're creating things if you were able to be that creative on an intellectual level, just as a dry intellect, you would go, oh yes, every time I touch on this theme, I will have this music. And really, what happens is you're like, oh, I don't want new music. I need the music that is the thing, the sad music with the irony. And then later, people are like, so deep. It's nicely repetitive. And you're I am only so creative today, and this is not it.
Sorry, my brain has decided once again that I need to like play the game off with you because I feel like you're gonna look at that and go, "Yes, here it is again."
Why are you dragging me through this? Yeah.
Or the whole here's the theme music happening again, that kind of thing over and over, and you're like, yes, this theme, I saw it here at the beginning, and here it is again, and this is how it's actually bullshit and that kind of thing, or not bullshit, and how they're pulling their out of their asses and it ends up great kind of thing.
Yeah. I know you're not big on classical music, but in classical music there are like themes and motifs and all kinds of stuff that you can do, fugues, whatever, where you take like a melody and then you're like, and we're going to say that this is the reflection point of the melody, and then we're going to turn all the notes upside down on the staff and then have it play the opposite of what it's doing. Like we start at 0 and we go +1. We're going to, in the reflected version, which we're going to play half a beat after the rest, we're going to go 0 and then -1. And so the notes will go boop and boop at the same time.
You got your own mirror world, but in music.
Right. That happens all over the place. And what happens is the best musicians go, I had one really good melody in me today, and the rest I just worked out with math. I'd say if they had been of the digital era, they would have said I just clipped it and flipped it. But since they didn't, they had to work out on staves with like bassoons.
I'm going to send you some Toby Fox music later. And you're going to be like, he over it, and I will be delighted.
But the creative process can and should include, I'm too exhausted to come up with anything new, so I'm going to recycle that one bit, but I'm going to change it a little bit so it's not completely fucking obvious.
Copying your own homework so you don't have to do any more.
Yes, absolutely. That is exactly right. Oh my god, that is 100%.
Okay, so fabulous. Glad we went on to this side route. However, is there anything else you wanted to say on that before you go off onto other shenanigans?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, this isn't even. I did the Dear John letter after the thing. Yeah, that was just me weeding out Dallas as the place that Wayward Vagabond came from.
The Dear John song, Dear John, you just saying that reminded me of a musical song that keeps like occasionally popping up of Dear Evan Hansen. I think that's what it is. It's got for the cover guy who has his arm in a cast and stuff, and it's written on it and blah 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 and stuff. I just see it occasionally on YouTube and people being like, "Yes, I'm gonna make an animatic about it." And it's like, "Dear Evan Hansen," and he's just talking to himself because like the other guy's dead.
Okay.
Yes. Anyways, I guess I'll send that to you too.
Okay. Okay, so we have one more page to discuss, which is, oh shit, don't do this. Okay, 2659. It says, Dear John, and then we see the Colonel Sassacre's daunting text of magical frivolity and practical japery. the cover. And then the front page, the Colonel amuses men. Okay, I just cut and paste this in here. The Colonel amuses men marginally less soused than he on a sweltering Mississippi evening. In true Sassacre form, he puts his astonishing julep intake to use with a textbook execution of Butterfinger's Solitaire, which I think means 52 card pickup. There's a page inscribed to John. The book is for him from Nana, who says that one day John will be thrust into another world, which tells me all of a sudden that there are 3 generations who have done the same thing. Nana says she is sure they will meet again. Somewhere there, it says Mangrit, and I was like, what's Mangrit? And I looked it up, and eventually I figured it out. It's man-grit.
Okay. I'm glad you found out on the right.
I was like, is this kind of like Terry Pratchett saying bugger it hand and shrimp or something?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. This is the letter from Nana is a bunch of foreshadowing. I want to read it out, but I probably shouldn't.
Before you go on that, I want to mention something. So Nana is talking about how during the man grit section specifically, John would need man grit to be able to lift the book in itself, and that's a sign of maturity as well as wisdom. Both the wisdom coming from like reading the actual book and stuff, but we can see the whole strength equals maturity and stuff that I thought John's dad was trying to relate to him, and I was like, I guess it's a generational thing of strength equals you're now mature enough to be a man kind of thing. And I was like, weird. I don't think John ever really gets to be strong man or something. I just thought it was an interesting thing that seems to be popping up specifically with him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, kind of Dave's bro thing is trying to man him up with the whole fighting thing, I would assume. So I guess that's another version of maturity. But you don't really see that with Rose. She's got her own, I am so smart that I don't think she needs to get that lesson hammered into her kind of thing.
It's a toxic masculinity thing. People who survived the Great Depression were like, if you're going to be an adult, you have to save everything. And if you're going to be female, you have to be submissive. If you have to be male, you have to be a protector. That's it.
Okay.
Like that was your gender.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. I thought it was interesting themes that way and not like here is trauma happening again kind of stuff.
It is. It's just not specific to family. It's a cultural thing.
Got it.
Bro would be the most obvious toxic manifestation of it. But it like if you were tall and kind of gangly, people were like, you must be gay. You don't have enough masculinity. And God help you if you were short and thin, right?
Like, I think that's what happened with Captain America for like pre the juice serum or whatever. Yeah. I'm only vaguely remembering this because it's been years since I watched that. I just am like,
wait, can I tell you something?
Have at it.
Okay, so you know the anime sword thing where like the more spiritual prowess you have, the larger your sword is. We're not talking penises here, just the sword thing. Captain America is that the manifestation of that.
His aura is too powerful, man.
They gave him that the elixir, and it modified him into the spiritual manifestation of his actual size instead of his physical size. His heart was, 3 sizes too big, as well as his biceps.
He's got Grinch powers. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure. Anytime. Speaking of pulling things out of my butt.
You're the one who mentioned his heart being 3 sizes bigger.
Yeah.
Anyways, Nana knowing things she shouldn't. My vague theory on that is because of the whole the world realizing it's fictional kind of thing. I think I've mentioned this before. Um, I think that Nana kind of retroactively got to learn this information because she was turned into a sprite via John, and so that the information vaguely went backwards and possibly forwards. Um,
Which we know can happen because of Jade.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jade shenanigans are vaguely different, but not majorly.
Okay. I think, well, we discussed that before.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyways, that's my theory. Whether or not it's true, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds plausible.
Yes.
Um, ba-ba-bum.
Further things to say on the letter, but I think you have more things to say yourself.
Nana notes that you will soon delve even deeper into a realm of warring royalty in a timeless expanse, a realm of agents and exiles and consorts and colonel sprites, of toiling underlings and slumbering denizens, a realm where four will gather, the heir of breath and seer of light, the knight of time and witch of space, and together they will ascend. I'm assuming because there are four entities, named entities, that they will end up being kids, or some aspect of the kids from the future self or something.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I would say Rose would be the Witch of Space, Seer of Light would be Jade, Knight of Time would be Dave, and Heir of Breath would be John, but that's just a random ass guess.
I am not going to say anything.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know what the slumbering denizens to me says some sort of Cthulhu type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And toiling underlings would be the shale imps and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel sprites, and then the other stuff I'm not sure about, but we'll leave that alone.
Yes.
Um,
I would like to note that when we were first talking about this whole starting up the Homestuck project,
mm-hmm.
The thing that I had mentioned that I was particularly excited about talking about with you later was eventually we would talk about the whole the kids turning into gods kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And here we get to see, well, title stuff because you already figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the thing that I want to talk about with you, that kind of thing. So I think it'll be a delight to eventually talk about the actual process with you once you have the further details how they actually got to that point.
Um, I don't remember if I've mentioned this before, but it seems like I should now because I'm like, wait, the names are just niggling something out of my head.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I was a huge Piers Anthony fan. His work has not necessarily survived well. Like the Xanth books are still pretty good, but some of it's really nutty. But one of his best series were the first 5 books of the Incarnations of Immortality, which was about real human people becoming various Greek gods. And I think that series had more of an effect on people than uh, lots of people knew. Like you heard about it, you read a book or two, and you're like, ha ha ha. But um, like Neil Gaiman wrote The Sandman, and it's almost the same thing. Um, Neil Gaiman steal something? Who knew? um, there are various other people who wrote things like what's his name?
Describe
The Elric guy. The
maker of the Brother of Alcohol? No.
No. Oh, duh. Okay. So I don't know who Alphonse is named after, but Elric is named after Elric from Full Metal,
Metal, yeah,
is named after Elric, a an aspect of the Eternal Hero by Michael Moorcock. That's what it is. He had a giant sword named Soulbringer, I think it was, and that used to drink souls. Like you would unsheath the sword, and then it had to kill somebody before it could be sheathed again, and it would drink their soul.
Oh, Chainsaw Man. I think the sword has to be like, yes, you have to kill someone, or is that no?
I don't remember. Uh,
Anyways, keep going.
I don't remember where we branched off because we did like 3 jumps down the road.
Talking about
Here's Anthony. Okay. I think a lot of people read my age read Piers Anthony and went off from there.
Nothing.
Nothing. And yeah, I think it'll be interesting to talk about the kids achieving godhood from that perspective, because in one of the cool things about it was that each of the characters acquires immortality in a completely different but appropriate way. Like there's the Chronos, the aspect of time. He picks up an hourglass and then travels backwards until his birth, and at which point he dies.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has to like reverse the flow of time just so he can talk to people. And he has knowledge of the future, but not much of the future, just whatever he had left. And so like he takes lovers, and they're usually other immortals who know what the deal is with this. And so like there's the tragedy of your lover, the longer you know your lover, if you're this guy, the less they know you, which is kind of very sad. You know,
yeah, time travel, that kind of thing.
Death dies. War changes aspects only when they're in a moment, in a very brief moment when there is no war, which very rarely happens. The fates have different ways to take on their aspects and stuff like that. But it's very cool, and it's very grounded, which is I think what struck most people who read it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that too for the same reason. Okay, so the actual essay. So we're gotten Act 1 versus Act 2. Act 1 was pretty simple. It was a hammer. It was a very squeaky hammer, but it was a hammer. Wow. Squeak him. You know, Jester. Pop culture, Jester. Pop culture, Jester. Pop culture, Jester. Pop culture, Jester. And some weird shit. You know, it just was like bam, 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 bam. Act 2 has been a lot more subtle and complex. I have liked it much better. Where I ran out of steam right around the switch from Act 1 to Act 2, I was like, oh God, I can't do this anymore. I'm so confused. I don't actually care. Act 2, I'm like, no question. Digging, I think if I had made it this far, regardless of whether or not I dug deep in the first section, I would have been like, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm go forward. But that first act was a lot for me to get choked down because I just am not into that. Let's see. I summed that up and at great length in my notes. Okay, so I ended up talking more about the idea of the Gen X experience of storytelling, which is basically like a John Hughes movie. Very simple, 2 ideas that get stuck together kind of thing. Our idea of an epic saga is a soap opera or the Marvel/DC comic book universe. And each of those things are they're very straightforward. They just keep going. And that's what makes them complex. It's not that Superman was ever meant to be like as complicated as it got, or as many aspects as it's got. When it first started out, it was just Superman saving people. And then, you know, as each generation got handed off stuff, they added on more weird lore to it. But it wasn't all like happening all at once. It was like first the straightforward Superman of the 50s, and then the slightly more detective-y of the 60s. And then we get in the 70s and Bizarro. Holy shit. You know, things got weirder. In the 80s, we're like, and here's the gritty, dark version of Superman. Can you come? Or that might have been late 80s or early 90s or something. Anyway,
there's the whole pink crystal kryptonite thing that made him gay and all that kind of stuff. And they go he over that.
Right. But it didn't all happen at once. Homestuck all happens at once.
Mm-hmm.
All of the timelines, all of the weird themes, all of the conflicting aspects of stuff, it happens all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that that's not how it should be done, because very much the like Odyssey, not the Odyssey, the Ulysses, the James Joyce novel that's like this. And it's one day, but it is so complex that you can't really get you can't get through it in a day. That's for sure. It takes longer to read than it does than a day. You cannot read it in 24 hours. Um, or maybe you can if you're a speed reader and if you've done it like 4 or 5 times already. I don't know, but it's really big and it's very layered and it's very complex. So it's not like this sort of storytelling hasn't been done before, as we've discussed before. But it's not what I grew up with at all. So what I started thinking was, when I went to sit down and go write this out, was it's like Hussey, a Gen Xer, grows up with this incredibly simple storytelling, where the only complexity that's actually allowed is satire. You can make fun of something if you want to include it, but you can't be sincere, because the storytelling is so simple. It's these two ideas. Either you're sincere, the two ideas get smashed together, it's very cheesy, or you layer some irony on it. And the thing underneath is always going to be cheesy. Like, no matter how many layers bro has, it's still Muppets. Okay, they're Muppets that are having sex. Muppets having sex. But
it's still Muppets.
It's still just Muppets. It's still just puppets. It's not like
that
meaningful. Yeah. If you get something like the musical where they have the internet is for porn song. I forget what that's called.
Ellie Ford? No. Anyway, I'll write that down, I guess.
Anyway, that if you take a look at that musical, it's way deeper. It's not just Muppets having sex. And it's not just satire, it's something else. It is a satire. It's a satire of the movie Rent, but it's not just that. It's actually sincere. So when you get the core story experience of a Gen Xer, and it's so simple and dumb, and then you get somebody with like Hussey's intellect going, ha, 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 I like dumb. I'm really smart, but I think dumb is kind of funny. And you can see him going through like the Barty Brouhaha and his earlier works and the Humanimals and all that kind of stuff. And he slowly works his way around to like Problem Sleuth and shit like that. And it gets more and more complex and more layers of irony, until finally he gets to the point where he's like, I've done it. I've done all of the things. I've done all of the things. And now what? None of this is new. All of this is making fun of something I grew up with. All of this is making fun of other people's work. What else is I've looked at all the smart ass plot twists. I have explored every single fucking layer of irony we can possibly fucking explore. Now what? And I think that's kind of the kernel. Like, he says he wanted to work some ideas out with Homestuck, and I think that's kind of where it is. Like, I've said it before, but I'm like checking back in. Yeah, I think that is. I think he was like, at some point, I have gone so meta that I have to go, what is a story anyway? What is it for? What does it do? What are we doing with it? Why do we even bother? And I think that the first act and the first act is the Gen X kind of simple two ideas getting smashed together. And then act 2 seems to be like, okay, so we're going to look at the different layers of irony and go, right, but is that all there is? And there isn't, because all the stuff that's under the irony is actually threads its way right back out. You can't just make fun of something and not include it.
Yeah.
And so it has a strange and odd power of its own. The Greek gods versus the Titans, semiotics versus people who think that what they see is all that there is. Things like that.
Yeah. Neat.
Anyway,
Hey.
let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say through there. Oh, actually, I wrote this early, and like on a somewhat poetic moment, I wrote, I think that Hussey went through the cheesy plots I could satirize and use irony on phase and started observing that what he loved wasn't either the cheesy plots or the irony that were his main previous focuses, but like how people make sense of stuff. He went from how do people see things in a cheesy plot to how do people see things when they start layering irony on it? Where does that end? And then, wait a minute, what happens after irony collapses everything into nonsense? Where do you go when you have to come back from that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Sorry, I recently had a minor Mass Effect people looking at fandom of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people go deep into the bits of Mass Effect,
mm-hmm.
and they're like, why is this thing not doing the further layer thing? Why is it that the Krogans, they have women who are off in their own little camps and stuff and have to be sequestered away so that they can attempt to have birth, even though they've been basically like neuterized and stuff by a giant plague kind of thing. Versus there's another species called the Brachni that are like birthing like, bug babies and stuff, and oh god, that needs to be dealt with and stuff. Why are they not like combining those two things to be like, yes, here's how like motherhood is a problem, or people attempting to control motherhood, that kind of thing. Especially considering the Krogans were the ones who were the first ones to be used to fight against the Rachni, and then that caused a whole big problem to get them plagued and stuff, that kind of thing. Further shenanigans that I'm not going to explain here. Just looking at that, and I was like, oh, okay. I think that Mass Effect went a little bit too straight. The whole combining things stuff. Here is, yes, we have the war, and you get to be so cool thing combined with. Honestly, I'm not even really sure what else they combine it with. Congrats, you're Jesus. Something like that. Combine the
That's
two
been
things.
done before.
Exactly. War and Jesus. Haha! Congrats. Just going and doing that and stuff, and then Gen Z and all that kind of stuff are looking at that and going, but what are the further layers that could be done with this and stuff?
Yeah.
So I guess that's an example that I hadn't even realized for that.
Yes. Fan fiction, I think, is amazing for this. Going because you've talked about this before. Fan fiction that doesn't explore anything new just drives you up the wall. Like, why are you bothering to write this if you're going to write the same thing or even close to the same thing as anybody else has ever written?
Mm-hmm. You are literally just making a roller coaster right along the current fiction that's already written, except this time you've added a new character who just gets to go, ooh, look, wee, as they go on the roller coaster.
Yeah, and that was our experience. Mm-hmm. That Gen X was not allowed to do that. And so we were like, hey, you know what would be cool is if we took Star Trek and we put ourselves into it. Bam!
Cool.
Cool.
What are you going to do with that, says Gen Z. Says me specifically. Okay, yes, that makes a lot more sense now. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't grow up with Powerpuff Girls. We grew up with Bugs Bunny. We grew up with Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, okay, so we take some real people to get dropped into the world, Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. Yes, that explains a lot on how you guys view fiction now. Thank you. Need to know. Thank you.
Okay. Secretly, Gen X was growing up in a covert fascist hellscape. And so, as we got older, we liked movies that were like, this is a thought crime and we're going to fight against it. You know, it didn't matter if it was sci-fi fantasy or not. Like, Pump Up the Jams is one of those movies where you're like, I'm a underground radio DJ. Fight the system. You're like, fight it in exactly the way that you're going to lose. Cool. That ineffective resistance for the win. Yeah, we got a lot of the messaging that we got was, you're going to die in a horrible nuclear holocaust, and none of it matters.
Mm.
So there's no point in being a decent human being. Get what you can. And a lot of us resisted that, but it's not a nuanced position. It's either you're a tool of the system, or you are some sort of resistance fighter. There's no, I need to navigate this space and still maintain some sort of sense of integrity to it. There's no mental health there.
Meanwhile, Gen Z over here is like, I have to do balancing all the fucking things, and it's not going well. Or from what I've seen, I'm sure millennials are also experiencing that, and then everyone else who's trying to navigate the internet. No,
millennials are like, we are competent.
Okay, got it. Okay, then. But point being, shenanigans. I think a lot of I've seen for Gen Z specifically, as well as Gen Alpha, as they're coming into the major internet spaces, are trying to do. I'm controlling my morality on this as like morality of themselves and everyone else around them. Is like the whole I'm gonna censor my words and you're supposed to censor your words too thing.
Yeah.
I think this is sort of an step 2 of your versions of stuff of I have to resist the thing or I will be a tool.
Yeah.
Except
you have to resist the thing or I will be a tool.
So it's interesting seeing the same thing basically happening over again, except we're fucking it up in a whole new way.
Yeah.
And hopefully the people that come after us will fuck up in their own new way, but at least be able to look at the previous ways and be like, oh, okay, I won't try
Not
specifically that. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I really wish that I could be a time traveler just so I could study how people fuck up in the future and be like, neat. And it's neat how you're navigating the way we fucked up in the past. Delightful.
I don't know. I have that experience in my lifetime and I think it's kind of cool. I'm like, go, Gen Z, go.
But I think that's mostly what I have to say on all of this, unless I want to have secret other Homestuck things to talk about. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
No.
That's
it for Act 1 and Act 2 so far.
Yeah. I do have thoughts on Act 1 stuff. To go back from the whole essay thing, just comparing the 2 acts and stuff.
Yeah, go for
it. Act 1 is very simple and stuff. I like it a lot more now that we're going through and exploring things and stuff. But I remember mostly just being like vaguely listening to it until eventually I got vaguely listening to things until I got to Act 6 and I was like, yes, my favorite part is here and stuff, and then going ham from there. So it's a lot more squishy in 3D now that I'm actually slowing down and stuff. So I'm kind of experiencing the same thing you did, except I didn't be like, I have to stop here. I just was like, well, I'm just gonna vibe here, do until eventually we got to the part that I liked and stuff, which is really how I do a lot of fiction stuff.
Yes, it is. The embarrassing part. Fast forward.
But I've been overall enjoying looking into the 3D space of stuff, even if I've been like, oh god, there's too much things for me to look into. I'm just gonna exactly. But it's been nice doing this whole thing with you.
Yep, I think so too. Do you have anything else about Act 1 or Act 2? I guess I was going to ask if there's anything I should know about Act 3. I'm like, no, leave it alone. Leave it alone. That's a professional interviewer question. Leave it alone.
once again, I vibed through it. I cannot differentiate Act 1 from Act 3. It's all just nerp until we get to Act 6, in which I'm like, yay! Kind of thing. So I have details, I remember things, but can I point to anything and say this is this specific deck? Fuck no. So,
okay, pre-Apple or post-Apple?
No, well, actually, on the actual apple itself,
okay.
I have a vague fascination of like blue as a flavor of stuff, specifically blue apples. I think this came from that.
Yep, I remember that.
So it's nice to know finally where the fuck that came from, because I just was like, I have to figure out how to describe the color of blue as a flavor. Apple. What? And went from there. So it's good to see where that came from, I guess.
So is this also where the volcanic cupcakes come from too?
It might be, actually. So many weird food things they had in the past.
High school, Ray had an obsession with different weird flavors of cupcake. We didn't get very far with it.
No.
But yeah, but it occurs to me that we could probably get a bunch of blue Jolly Ranchers and melt them down and make a candied apple that way.
We could. Last night also, I was like looking up the first episode of My Little Pony for big shenanigan reasons. But I also was like, hey, wait, Pinkie Pie just dumps a whole hell of a lot of hot sauce on top of this cupcake. And that may also be part of the whole volcano cupcake thing. Because I was like, I'm going to fill this cupcake with hot sauce. So there's several parts to this, apparently.
This is how creative work gets done. You pull it right out of your butt and you're like, later, shit, that's where that, probably that's where I got that.
And apparently if we do end up having a weird Ray dinner party thing of like coming up with actually making the recipes of all the things I have come up with in my life that are just weird, we'll be able to point at them and be like, hey, this comes from this. And I'll be like, damn it. So there's that, I guess. That is what I have. Do you have anything else, or should we leave it here?
I kind of want to make blue caramel now.
All right.
Blue caramel. I can make caramel. Caramel's good. I could make candy for the apple and it'd be prettier, but I kind of want to do blue caramel. It's going to be kind of brown blue caramel, but whatever.
I'm not majorly a fan of carameled apples, mostly because I'm like, this is the giant apple and there's nothing except apple. You bite caramel and then apple and nothing else, kind of thing. Like, there's no inside flavor. Like, it feels like it should be a 3-flavor thing, but it's just 2 flavors, or a 3-texture thing. So I think maybe like hollowing the inside of the apple out, or filling it up with something.
I was just thinking, cut the apple up and then like have cheese on the side or something. But all right.
Sorry, I'm thinking further shenanigans. Anyways, you're saying.
That's it.
Okay. Well then, thank you for listening to us babble about foods. We may eventually come up with more.
I know. I'm like, we need to have more foods to put in here, but we don't.
Okay.
Okay.
But
all right.
Thanks for joining us.
Next time, we'll probably work on Act 3, but we might switch over to Amazing Digital Circus. We'll see.
Yes. But thanks for joining us.
Bye.